Alright, here I am. I'm just out of the shower. My hair is completely clean and dried, so you want to start on super clean, super dry hair, mainly because the least amount of times you have to wash your hair with the Kool Aid dye in it, the better and longer it will stay. So to go over a couple of supplies, here we are. Of course, your color of Kool Aid. My favorite is Tropical Punch. You get a nice bright pink color. A container to mix it in. Your favorite conditioner. You will see why in a minute. You will need a brush or a comb with the rat tail on it. I just have this little back comb brush. You will need some gloves. You will need some of these little hair ties. Something to mix. I have just this old pink brush to mix your dye. And you will need some tin foil. I have very thin hair, so I only need 4 pieces of tin foil. You may need more if you have super thick hair. So, first and foremost, I am going to open 2 packs of dye. Like I said, I have super thin hair, so I do not need a whole lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour it. Watch out, the powder will make you cough. So I'm going to pour it into the little mixing container. In this case, a little salsa bowl. I don't really use it much, only for masks and hair dye mixtures. My favorite, I use Bedhead for blondes. And I put about 5 full pumps. Maybe 6 full pumps. I don't have a lot of hair, so I don't like to waste too much and have too much at the end. Now I'm going to mix. Okay, at this point I have a very pasty color. So you can see it's really thick and pasty. And it has a little bit of a texture to it, and we want it a little more watery. So right now I am running my sink at the most absolute super hot temperature I can get it to, and just dab it underneath the water. So we don't want to put too much water, so maybe it'll be equivalent to like a half a teaspoon of water. So I just start mixing a little bit at a time. And you want to make sure that the water is really hot because you want to dissolve all the granules in the Kool Aid. So I'm just mixing it. Now, I've seen a couple of techniques of how this technique and a couple of ways that some people have done it on YouTube. And I kind of took everything that I had seen and tried and came up. Maybe this is my own technique. Maybe it's not even close to being my own technique. But this is the technique I like to use. I've seen people use the Kool Aid in the containers with the sugar. I use these packets without sugar. I mean, is there really a point in putting sugar in your hair when you can get a more consistent actual dye using these? So they're only 24 cents a piece. I've never used generic brand. I know that there's some grocery stores out there that have generic brands. I've never used a generic brand. I've always used Kool Aid. I've used a couple colors, or flavors in this case. I've used Pink Lemonade, which has a more of an orangey, light pink. Black Cherry, which has a really red pink color. So far, those are the colors that I've used. I'm not really into the blues and the greens and the oranges and anything like that, so I have not yet used those. But who knows? Maybe I'll have another video with some super crazy rainbow hair. So now I have put probably about a teaspoon of water. I know I said a half a teaspoon, but to get it to the consistency, a really smooth consistency. Almost if you've ever dyed your hair like store-bought dye, that's the consistency that you really want. And you want to make sure that you're using hot water to really break down the granules of the Kool Aid, break down the dye to give it the most impact. So now that I have the right consistency, we're going to start putting our hair back and getting it ready to dye. Alright, so I'm getting ready to put the Kool Aid dye in. For some reason today I want to part my hair down the middle. I don't know, I've kind of enjoyed that type of part recently for some reason. And because it's equal, one on one side, one on the other. So you can see my hair line, the dye. I'm going to just follow that. If you don't have that to follow, then, you know, just make your own line. Do you only want your tips dip dyed? Do you want it up higher? Do you want it halfway? Do you want it up higher? If you take it up higher, you're going to have to do it in different layers this way. I do it in 2 different layers this way. So I have my back and then my front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little hair ties and I'm going to split my hair front and back. And then I'm going to find my guideline and just hair tie it right above my line. Just to have control of that hair. Also, you want to put on a shirt that you don't wear very often. Maybe you wear to sleep, or maybe you wear just to dye your hair. So you will notice the front, I'm just going above the color. Now the line of the color, you have to figure that when it lays back, it'll lay at a different angle. So you want to go just above. And your hair ties might not be exactly at the same height, because you have to really think about where your hair is going to lay. So it's going to lay, this is going to lay higher because you have layers, if you have layers, and that's going to lay further down. So, you know, I kind of, they run, you know, if you can see how I run it. And in the end, it blends in together a lot more because this is really, realistically, the top layer, and it's just going to go over that back layer. Now comes the handy dandy latex gloves. So now it's time to put the dye in. So you are going to want to lay this back behind the piece of hair that you are going to dye. Now I did mix the dye with a paintbrush, just an old craft brush. And you can use that, if you have a hair dyeing brush, you can use that. And I just go right under where that hair tie is. So just right below where that hair tie is. You can see that. And then just really, really intensify the color and soak your entire ends in it. So you really want to saturate this hair to make sure that you're getting all the layers. Just like if, you know, I don't know if anybody out there has actually, you know, dyed their hair or if they've left it up to the salons. Me, I'm super curious, so I always try something, most things, at least once. so this is very familiar to me. But it's nice and saturated, nice and red. But don't let it fool you, it won't be red. Okay, so now you want to fold it from the bottom up. Squish it really nice so it doesn't get everywhere, because it will stain your fingers. It is dye after all, whether it's Kool Aid or whether it's hair dye, it is dye. So here's number 1. I have 3 to go. So I'm going to speed things up a bit and get the other ones dyed. Alright, so I have all 4 sections of my hair wrapped up in my Kool Aid dye. Things got a little messy and goopy there for a bit, you know, big accidents. Alright, so here I have my handy dandy hair dryer. So what I'm going to do is just heat these up. Heat them up really, really, really good. And then let them cool. And that's it. Alright, now it is time to wait. Wait for about an hour.